She believed she was escaping a cage. But the bars were never around her. They were inside her. She told herself she wanted peace. But what she truly craved was attention. She said she wanted passion, but all she found was exhaustion. Every post, every smile, every new beginning became another scene in a play she didn't know she was starring in. The truth? She didn't break free. She just changed prisons. And when the lights go out, when the applause fades, she's left with one haunting question. What if the problem was never him? Everyone talks about what happens to men after divorce, the heartbreak, the silence, the rebuilding. But almost no one talks about what happens to women. Not the filtered version, not the story she tells her friends, the truth. Because while she's out there chasing freedom, something else is quietly breaking inside her. A psychological pattern so predictable it's almost mathematical. If you've ever looked at your ex's smile online and thought she was thriving while you were sinking, stay. Because what happens next will change the way you see everything about love, loss, and freedom itself. She calls it freedom, a clean slate, a second chance to rediscover herself after years of feeling invisible. In the first few weeks, her world feels intoxicating. She buys new furniture, moves things around, paints the walls white, because it feels like a reset. She joins yoga classes, takes pictures of sunsets, uploads them with captions about strength and self-love. Every gesture is a declaration. I'm finally free. There's laughter over wine with her friends, toasts to new beginnings, playlists filled with songs about empowerment. Her phone lights up with messages from people telling her how brave she is. For a moment, it almost feels true. She tells herself she's never been happier, never been lighter. But beneath the celebration, there's a silence she can't name yet. Because this feeling, this high, isn't peace. It's adrenaline. It's what happens when someone breaks away from gravity but hasn't realized they're still falling. She mistakes motion for progress, distraction for healing. Every plan she makes is loud enough to drown out the quiet questions, the ones that whisper when she's alone. Who am I now? Who will catch me if I slip? She scrolls through photos of beaches, quotes about rebirth, women smiling into the sun. They all look free. None of them look real. Freedom, she tells herself, means no one to answer to, no one to disappoint. But freedom also means no one waiting for her at the end of the day. No voice calling her name from another room. No heartbeat beside her in the dark. What she's celebrating isn't freedom. It's escape. Temporary. Weightless. Unsustainable. The truth is, she hasn't landed yet. She's floating between who she was and who she thinks she'll become. But no one stays airborne forever. And when the fall begins, it's always faster than she expects. She doesn't notice when validation starts to replace the silence. At first, it's harmless. Compliments from friends. Heart emojis under her photos. Co-workers telling her she looks so much happier now. The praise hits like a rush. Every "you look amazing" becomes proof that leaving was the right choice. She buys a new dress, posts another picture, and watches the likes stack up like digital confetti. There's a thrill in it. Short, bright, addictive. For the first time in years, she feels seen. But what she doesn't realize is that she isn't being seen. She's being mirrored. Every compliment reflects the story she's trying to sell. The story of a woman reborn. And as long as people believe it, she has to believe it too. She becomes fluent in the language of performance. Light laughter, confident captions, careful filters hiding the fatigue under her eyes. It's not deceit, it's survival. Because in this stage, validation isn't about attention. It's about anesthesia. It numbs the fear that maybe she traded stability for applause. Her friends feed the narrative like oxygen. You're glowing. You're thriving. You deserve more. Each phrase lands like another drink at a party that never ends. She feels untouchable, powerful, as if every man who looks at her is proof that she made the right call. She rediscovers flirtation, the lightness of being desired. The novelty electrifies her. Dating apps open a portal of endless options, matches, messages, late-night conversations that feel like possibility. She interprets quantity as quality, attention as intention, novelty as value. But deep down, the hunger grows. Validation is a drug that demands escalation. What once satisfied her now feels small. She needs more. More likes, more eyes, more proof. And when the feed goes quiet, when the notifications slow, the silence returns. Only this time it feels heavier, because now she knows what it's like to drown it out, and how empty it is when the noise fades. Every high has a hangover, and hers is coming. It starts with something small. A first date that looks perfect on paper. He's well-dressed, articulate, funny enough to keep her smiling. They share dinner, maybe a drink after. It feels normal, even promising. But at the end of the night, when he leans in, his hands unfamiliar, his scent foreign, something shifts. It isn't passion, it's absence. He doesn't know that she hates thunderstorms. He doesn't know that she checks the locks 3 times before bed. He doesn't know her laugh, not the real one that used to escape mid-conversation when she felt safe. He knows nothing. And the emptiness of that realization hits harder than any breakup ever did. For the first time, she senses that what she lost wasn't just a husband. It was context. A world that made sense, even when it was imperfect. But she won't admit that. Not yet. She'll tell herself this is normal. That this is what dating is supposed to be. Excitement, discovery, adventure. She'll schedule another date, swipe through more profiles, answer more shallow questions. Each new face blends into the next. Each good morning text feels recycled. The laughter starts to sound rehearsed. The compliments start to echo. And slowly, without realizing it, her mind begins to compare. The laughter starts to sound rehearsed. The compliments start to echo. And slowly, without realizing it, her mind begins to compare. Not consciously, she'd never admit that. But deep in her wiring, the pattern matching begins. The charming one interrupts her mid-sentence. The confident one avoids eye contact when things get serious. The fun one drinks too much. Piece by piece, the illusion fractures. She begins to understand something she's been avoiding. Attention isn't intimacy. Chemistry isn't connection. She still repeats the mantra. He was the problem. Because it's easier than facing the silence underneath it. But her subconscious whispers something she can't ignore anymore. At least he was real. She drives home after another date, headlights slicing through the night. Her apartment feels colder than before. And as she drops her purse on the table, a thought crosses her mind. Quiet, unwanted, undeniable. Freedom feels different when there's no one waiting for you to come home. Around the 6th or 7th month, the silence stops feeling peaceful. It starts to feel like pressure, heavy, constant, closing in from every side. The world that once cheered for her has gone quiet. The friends who called her brave are back to their routines. The dinner invites slow down. The texts arrive less often. Everyone assumes she's thriving, because that's the story she told them. And now she has to keep playing the role. So she performs, smiling for photos, posting pictures of coffee cups and sunsets, writing captions about healing and growth. Every word is a costume she slips into before facing the world. But when the camera's off, the house is still empty. The walls echo back her own voice. And that's when the panic begins. It's subtle at first. An extra glass of wine, a new hobby, a few too many nights out. Anything to keep from sitting still. Because stillness means thinking. And thinking means remembering. Then comes the insomnia. The racing thoughts. The sudden urge to reach for her phone at 1 a.m. Hey, just thinking about you. She tells herself it's harmless, just curiosity. But deep down she knows. It's not curiosity. It's craving. Not for him, but for what she used to feel when life made sense. This is what psychologists call dissonance. The war between two truths she can't reconcile. I made the right choice. I'm miserable. To hold both at once requires energy she no longer has. So she builds distractions, entire performances to drown out the contradiction. Work harder, travel more, stay busy, smile wider. But nothing fills the quiet. Nothing stops the ache of realizing that happiness feels heavier when you have to perform it. Because the panic doesn't come from loneliness, it comes from awareness. She can't escape the thought that keeps clawing its way to the surface. The one she's tried to silence with every new experience, every post, every drink. It's not the loneliness that hurts. It's realizing she chose it. A year passes, and the story she built begins to collapse under its own weight. The glow is gone. The apartment feels smaller. The nights feel longer. The air tastes like something unfinished. There's no more dopamine left to burn. Just the quiet aftermath of choices that once felt powerful. This is the point where most women start to rewrite history. She tells herself it wasn't regret. It was growth. That leaving wasn't a mistake. It was destiny. But deep inside, where no one else can hear her, doubt begins to whisper. Maybe the marriage wasn't as bad as she remembered. Maybe the problem wasn't him. Maybe it was her restlessness. The hunger for something she couldn't name. Something she thought she'd find outside the life she built. But she can't admit that. Admitting it would destroy the entire identity she spent a year defending. She became the woman who was brave enough to leave. The woman who inspired others. Who turned pain into power. To admit regret now would mean dismantling the only version of herself she still believes in. So she keeps rewriting. Maybe he's changed. Maybe we could have worked if... She builds small fantasies out of broken truths, gentle enough to soothe, fragile enough to protect her pride. Yet the regret seeps through anyway. Quiet but relentless. It visits her in the spaces between distractions, when the house is still, when the children are asleep, when the night feels too honest to lie to. She scrolls through old photos, stopping at one where she's laughing, not posing, not pretending, just laughing. And the realization lands like smoke in her chest. She can't go back there, not to that moment, not to that version of herself, not to him. Regret without redemption. That's what this is. Like living inside a house she set on fire, standing in the ashes, refusing to leave because she's the one who lit the match. For the first time, she doesn't want freedom. She wants home. At first, her friends were her army. They cheered her through every step of the separation, sent quotes about strength, took her out for drinks, reposted her selfies with captions like, "Queen, brave, and finally free." But that chorus doesn't last. Slowly the noise fades, the messages stop, the group chat grows quiet, and one day she notices something strange. The world that once celebrated her has gone still. Her married friends begin to pull away, not out of malice but instinct. She represents something uncomfortable now, a reminder that marriages end, that security isn't guaranteed. Invitations to dinner disappear. Weekend getaways happen without her. She doesn't even hear about them until she sees the pictures online. Her single friends, the ones she thought would be her new circle, aren't much better. At first, they welcome her. Brunches, nights out, long talks about dating and finding yourself. But soon, tension creeps in. They're all fishing in the same pond, chasing the same attention. And she carries baggage they don't want to compete with. Kids, history, complication. She realizes she doesn't fit anywhere anymore. Too single for her married friends. Too experienced for her single ones. Too tired to start over. Too proud to admit she's lonely. She scrolls through her phone, thumb hovering over names she hasn't spoken to in months. The courage to reach out comes and goes. She imagines the conversation, the polite tone, the forced laughter, and closes the app instead. There's a particular kind of silence that follows social death. It's not anger. It's not betrayal. It's indifference. The world simply moves on, leaving her behind in a life that used to feel full. She thought she'd gained the world when she walked away. What she gained was space. Wide, empty, echoing. She left believing she was stepping into something bigger. But the truth is quieter, lonelier, harder to admit. She didn't walk into freedom. She walked into absence. When a marriage lasts long enough, it doesn't just shape your life. It shapes your identity. You stop being an individual and start being half of a rhythm built for two. Every decision, every routine, every weekend plan quietly includes the other person, even when they're not there. And when that rhythm stops, the silence isn't just emotional. It's existential. She wakes up on the wrong side of the bed because there is no her side anymore. The house feels too large and too small at the same time. The question, "What do you want for dinner?" used to be simple. Now it's a mirror reflecting her own uncertainty. She wanders grocery aisles unsure what to buy. For years, she bought for two. She sits through movies that don't make her laugh, turns off lights no one else will see. Every ordinary action now feels like proof that her life has been split open. She thought independence would mean strength, self-sufficiency, power. But no one told her that independence without belonging feels like exile. There's the financial reality too. The one no caption ever mentions. The dual income is gone. The safety net, the shared goals, the comfort of knowing someone else has your back. Gone. She's not poor, but everything feels smaller now. The apartment, the budget, the dreams. And then there's her body. Its quiet rebellion. Days without touch turn into weeks. Weeks into months. She didn't realize how much the human body depends on warmth. A hand brushing hers, a familiar shoulder in the dark. Now her skin feels starved. The stress creeps in. Sleep falters. Her body aches in ways that have nothing to do with age. Freedom was supposed to feel alive. But it feels like a room she can't escape. Decorated to look empowering, but filled with echoes. She stares at her reflection and hardly recognizes the woman looking back. A stranger built from fragments of old lives and broken certainties. She wanted independence. What she got was isolation. It always happens suddenly. Sometimes it's a random moment. Seeing him in a photo, hearing his laugh in their child's voice, catching a glimpse of him with someone new. But when it hits, it's like gravity returning all at once. 2 years have passed. The chaos has settled into monotony. She's stopped pretending she's happy, but still tells herself she's fine, until that one moment when she sees him again. Different, calmer, stronger. His eyes no longer carry the weight she left him with. He's changed. And that's when it hits her. Something she's never said out loud. He didn't fall apart. He rebuilt. That realization cuts deeper than any breakup ever could. Because it proves what she's avoided all along. He was never the problem. He was unfinished, just like she was. Flawed, yes, but real. And in leaving him, she didn't escape pain. She just postponed it. Now she sees him with someone else. Someone younger, maybe. Or maybe just someone who looks at him with the softness she used to have. The sight hits her like a confession she never meant to make. Her chest tightens, not from jealousy, but from awareness. This is what she wanted. A man who had grown, who had healed, who had learned. But he became that man without her. The irony is cruel. She created the version of him she always claimed to want. But she's no longer invited into his story. She drives home in silence, replaying old memories that don't hurt anymore. They haunt. The nights they argued, the mornings they laughed, the life she decided wasn't enough. Now she understands. She didn't leave a bad man. She left a reality she misunderstood. It wasn't that the marriage was broken. It was her perception of it. And perception, once shattered, can't be rebuilt. Every happy couple she passes now reflects her own mistake back at her. Not as cruelty, but as truth. She watches them the way one watches a window from outside on a cold night, wondering how she ever thought warmth was a cage. Every happy couple she passes is a mirror reflecting the life she destroyed. Freedom, validation, awakening, panic, reckoning, collapse, identity, realization. It's not randoms, it's a sequence. It's almost mathematical in its precision. Every stage feels unique while she's living it. But when you step back, it's a pattern. This isn't a condemnation of women. It's a map of the illusions we're all capable of creating when we confuse desire with truth. She thought she was walking toward a new life. In reality, she was walking in circles, chasing the reflection of a fantasy she couldn't sustain. The tragedy isn't that she left. It's that she left believing she was escaping something external, when what she was really trying to escape lived inside her. And when the noise faded, the validation, the attention, the narrative, she was left face to face with the one thing she'd spent years avoiding: herself. If you're a man watching this, understand this clearly. Her story is not your punishment. It's your protection. The same illusions that consumed her can consume you too. The belief that happiness exists outside of discipline. That love is a feeling instead of a practice. That validation equals value. Don't chase revenge. Don't chase closure. Just watch. Learn. Because what broke her doesn't have to break you. There's a cruel kind of peace that comes from seeing reality as it is. Not through resentment, not through nostalgia, but through understanding. That's the kind of clarity men rarely get to have, because they're too busy reacting to pain instead of studying it. She thought she was chasing freedom. But freedom without truth is just another kind of prison. And the moment you understand that, truly understand it, is the moment you stop living in reaction to her story and start writing your own. Outro for Female Code Unlocked. If this opened your eyes, subscribe to Female Code Unlocked. Because understanding women isn't about judgment. It's about power, clarity, and control.